Okay, a little review or introduction to using the gradebook in Schoology in case you have not used it before. This is not only an introduction to Schoology, but I've been asked to include the requirements for grading going forward for the district. So some of the things that I am discussing are not specifically things you would have to do in the future with Schoology, but they are things that you have to do uh, in this marking period because of administrative requirements about how grading is going forward in this unusual situation. So the first thing that you probably want to do, I'm using my second period class here, it's American Government. You can see there's an overall grade calculation from some random assignments I've had in from the third marking period. It's a half-year class. And then the fourth marking period, I have no grades, obviously, because we haven't assigned any work yet. First thing we want to do is go to grade setup. So in grade setup, if you have no categories before, you'll probably want to add some categories, which you would do right here. One of the requirements as set down by the district is that there will be no category weighting. So you may not use this right here. You can't have 10% homework, 30% tests. We're not doing that. Every assignment is of equal value, and that's just something that has been determined for us. So one thing that might make a lot of sense is, especially if you've been using Schoology in the past and syncing, is to create this new category called fourth marking period work and just call every assignment fourth marking period work. This will make it easy for you to know that all the assignments are the same, for the students to know they're all the same. If you've been syncing with Schoology in the past because you've never mapped this category before, there's no way it'll sync with PowerSchool. So that's just my recommendation. If you still like to have them called different things, that's your business. Just make sure they don't sync. The other thing that you might want to pay attention to here is what is the default grading. This means when you create a new assignment, how do you want the grading to be set up? Would you prefer, in this case, we're all going to choose numeric, and this is very important. Well, it's not that important because you can change it later, but every assignment that you create from this point forward is going to be created on a numeric scale. Because they are all going to be weighted the same, every assignment is going to be 1 point, and it's either going to be 1 point, it is completed satisfactory, or it's going to be incomplete, which means that more work is needed. So I will show you that later on. It is also possible that you want to hide the overall grading columns because you might have grades earlier in the year from Schoology in here. That's something that you can do on your own. However, after you add your categories, and in my case, I changed my rubric to wanting it to be numeric, I'm going to save my changes. So then we can see what the gradebook looks like. I got a lot of people streaming in my house, a little bit slow. Okay, so you'll see right here that there are no assignments at this point. There are two ways to get assignments into Schoology. The first one is if you created any assignment whatsoever for the students, it would automatically make a grading column here. So let's see a little bit what that would look like. I'll just go back to my materials, and I'm going to try to add something. I'm going to add an assignment. This is obviously just a fake assignment. Okay, so this is fake assignment. So we got to here, this assignment could be anything at all. It could be requiring students to go make a Flipgrid video. It could be asking students to submit a picture. It could be asking students to answer an essay question. Whatever it is, the assignment is here. You would establish a due date, right? In this case, I'm going to pick April 17th, and I would want that done at midnight. I'm going to create the category, fourth marking period work. I'm also going to make sure this assignment is only worth 1 point. And that is something that has been dictated to us. All your assignments are worth 1 point, and there you go. As it turns out, one of the things that you can do that you might want to is if you had particular students who needed help with something or you wanted to give it to them, it does have this, which is assign it individually, in which case this will pop up, and then you just start typing the name of a student in this class, and maybe I only want to assign this to Dave Barrett. Anyway, I don't really want to do that, but if you wanted to. The other thing is this would be your submissions enabled and this is published. So I'm going to turn that off for now just so that when I create it, the students don't see it and think they have something to do. But you would not want to turn it off. So now that that assignment is created, if I go back to my gradebook, and it loads, you'll see there's my fake assignment. And then I could go through. So if Dave had done the assignment, I'd give him a 1. Now, if Jamira had not done the assignment, the only thing you are allowed to give for a grade is this, an incomplete. So this is the only way to score it incomplete, is to put this here. You can't type anything at all. So you're either going to give the student a 1 or you're going to give him or her an incomplete. Those are the only grades. If everybody had a 1, or say most people had a 1, and there were just a few incompletes, you could always fill, I think you can. Oh, you can set all grades to something if you want to. If it's easier than if everyone has completed it, you can put in all the students who did it and then mark all the empty cells incomplete at once. That's probably the easiest way to go through and give the people the scores who finished it and mark the other ones incomplete. And that's the easiest way to do it. This should be pretty easy when you get into a gradebook to see students, but I'm going to go back to my last marking period just to show you it can get more confusing. And one of the nice tools it has. So you can see in here I have a lot of students that have flags and things like this, and a lot of actual scores. I can see things that are marked missing with a new submission, or things that are marked incomplete, right? And if you marked all the ones that were incomplete, I guess you can't see them with a new submission. But in this case, I can see this stands out to me right away, marked missing with a new submission. But you can't use the missing. You can only use incomplete. So I guess you can just set it to say, mark, show me all the ones that are incomplete, which will be relatively easy to see. But it will be harder to see if they have a new submission. This little blue icon will be there in the corner. Another thing people might want to know with the gradebook is they might want to have an assignment kept in here that they didn't actually assign in Schoology for some reason. Maybe you did a flip grid, but you forgot to create an assignment in here. You can go to this plus button and you can add a grade column. And then when you get to this grade column, I can call it fake number 2. It doesn't have a due date because it's not an assignment. I still want to make sure that it's 4th marking period work. I still want to make sure it's only worth 1 point. It's numeric. I'm going to unpublish it again in this case just because I don't want to see students see it. And then my gradebook will have fake assignment 2, and I can enter my 1s or my incompletes as needed here. Okay, we don't want to use this at all. Again, for those of you who in the past have been syncing, do not click the sync to PowerSchool, and if you've created this new category, 4th marking period work, that shouldn't be a problem. The last thing I will mention to you is if I've gone too quickly here, or if there are things that I haven't mentioned that you would like to know or don't understand, which I imagine there are many, I will hold a Google Meet next week, just like you would with your students, where you can log in and ask me questions. I believe that link to that Google Meet will be in an email sent out from Mike or Elena in the coming weeks. And at that time, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Okay, thanks.